I have no gavel, so you'll have to. Good evening, everyone. We are so happy to welcome all of you here tonight. My name is Lakota. I'm the board chair, and my fellow board member Kelly Casper will be the board representatives on this committee. And we're going to go around the room and have everybody introduce themselves. Maybe just give us a line about yourself. That's the most important thing that we need to know about you. Can everybody hear me okay? All right. We'll start with the lady in the middle.
Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Lawley. I'm the interim superintendent for Lakota Local Schools. It's nice to be here tonight.
Hi, I'm Kelly Casper. I'm a board member and I'm board now 6 years.
Rob Oldman, Assistant Superintendent of Lakota, also parent of 2 graduates and 2 still in.
Stacy May, Assistant Superintendent. This is my second day.
I am Natasha Montalvo, also incredibly important. I'm a parent. The 3 kids in the district. I've been an educator for 7 years. Working in various districts.
Benjamin McCall, lived in and around the district, 17, 18 years, had 2 kids. I'm excited to have the conversation.
Sandy Beasley, 38-year community member, have 2 children who one graduated from the Lakota High School, and one graduated from West. They are both educators, and I'm also excited to be here.
Jeffrey Steck, I've been facilitating the Lakota community conversations for over 10 years.
I'm Betsy Fuller. I'm the Director of School and Community Relations here at Lakota and also a parent of the graduates.
I'm Andrea Longworth. I'm the Executive Director of Special Services. I've spent my entire career at Lakota and in the field of special education. I have 2 Lakota grads, one from Lakota West and one from Lakota East. So we are really Lakota in our house, and there is no competitiveness whatsoever.
I'm Amy Olamaje. I am a parent in the community. I'm a former teacher. I've got 2 little girls who are now on the East track, so I'm excited to be here. Hi, I'm Caroline Grace. I'm a parent, and I have a son in junior high and a son in high school. I've lived in Westchester for 17 years, and we've had such a great experience in our time with Lakota. I'm just really happy and thankful that I'm selected again.
My name is Diana Tellis. I've lived in the district for about 25 or 26 years. I have 4 children. 2 of them are adults, 2 of them are high schoolers. One of my kids graduated 2020 from Lakota West and got really, really good instruction in life sciences. She's a nurse now. So I'm very, very happy with how that went for her. And interestingly enough, the other 2 homeschooled. So, and I'm still doing that. So I have a pretty unique mix here. But we utilize, both schools and the homeschool opportunity. But I'm excited to be here and have a conversation. We do have some reading and writing special needs in my family, so I think I bring a unique perspective, I think, so happy to be here.
I'm Sally Barker. I actually work here at East, but I've worked for Lakota for, I'm starting my 24th year. I've lived in Westchester for 27 years. 2 girls, I graduated from East. I'm also a grandparent now, which is fun. And I run the Veterans Club here at East, and I do prom as well.
I'm Doug Knoxell, and I'm a public tech teacher at East Liberty Junior School. I'm design modeling. Started teaching in 1981 at Harrison High School. Took some time off, 18 years in industry. Came back into education. So Lakota here at East for 10 years. In an engineering lab upstairs. And now I'm in public tech. I'm up to 7 years. Here.
I'm Sarah Buckingham. I'm a mom to 2 boys. They both will be at Indy this year. Yay, to have them both at the same school. Something unique about me, I think, I have a boy in both tails. If you think about the bell curve of students, I have one with special needs on an IEP, and I have one who is gifted. So I hope to bring that perspective, and I'm excited to have these conversations.
Hi, I'm Lauren Webb, and I'm extremely grateful. I've worked for Lakota for 19 years, but I was also a student teacher here, and I was working with Rob as a principal at one point too, so I'm really fortunate to now work at our district office, representing gifted services and all that we can do for our gifted students in the district.
Hi, I'm Yasmin. I'm the last one. I'm Yasmin Brown Jones. I've been in the district for 15 years, mom of 3 boys, from all 3 of them being gifted, and then from theater and arts to every sports that you can think of. Been excited about Lakota ever since I've been here. I've been a PTO president and volunteer at every level. That's elementary, junior high, 9th grade building, and the high school building. So I love Lakota. I want to see nothing but good things happen here in this district. So that's my
I'm Aisha Moore. I am the lead of GI, Varsity Equity Inclusion, and I run alumni with the champions. I've been employed in Lakota for 22 years now, and I've been through the district at a lot of schools, worked with a lot of kids, and this is the reason that I do this, is for kids, to make sure that equity is what we want to want for our kids, and I think that's very important, and I'm glad that you guys are here to give your input. Thank you.
My name's Leah Aguilar, and I'm the Parent Engagement and Community Outreach Coordinator for the district. And I actually am from California. This is our second time living in Ohio. I've been very fortunate to be here for a second time, and in that, so 22 years working in our community with children from birth all the way through our high schoolers into college with our families as well, whether we're looking at early intervention, special needs, and things like that, through our lower socioeconomics and self-population, and I love what I do.
So I'm Cesar Venegas. I worked in Lakota for 9 years. I'm currently starting my 2nd year of Butler Tech. I have a graduate. I graduated from Lakota West a couple of years ago. And one interesting thing about me is I was once an ESL student, so I bring a different perspective to the classroom.
Lonnie Stell. I'm the senior pastor at New Life Chapel. We met at Lakota West, and that's where we became friends with Elgin back in the day. And so I don't know why I'm here. I guess we have a lot of people who come to our church. So.
We got volunteers. We got volunteers.
And we got I got encouraged by Elgin, so I'm here. But oh, sorry. Sorry.
I am Darren Fisher. I have been in the area about 30 years, been in the Lakota system for 20 years. 3 graduates out of the Lakota system. My background is in law enforcement and business. I was a policeman here in Westchester in the city of Hamilton for a period of time. Now I work with, on the private side, I work for Pepsi. My wife and I love the area, love the school system, and when this opportunity became available, it's not a duty, it's a want to serve and make sure that we keep everything guided in the right direction.
I'm Steve Newen, and I have 3 kids that came through the Lakota School District. My youngest is 24, my oldest is 28. I have been in the area, like Darren, for 30 years. I've known Darren for most of those 30 years. Coaching a lot of different sports. You guys probably see me on different sidelines of Lakota West. I'm also a golf coach at Lakota West, a baseball coach at Lakota West, and a football coach at Lakota West. And I just gave up men's soccer so I could coach golf some 7 years ago. I'm also a mentor at the Incubator EDU. I was also helping in making that program come to life, which was wonderful, bringing the business world into the school world. I've guest lectured and taught because I'm a financial advisor by trade. Finance 101 class that we kind of had over at West. My wife is the office manager of Lakota West over at Freedom Elementary, if you've seen her. And so now we are grandparents. My daughter had her first grandbaby, but then she married a gentleman who had 3 kids, so I actually was a bonus grandparent from that. My most interesting thing is most people don't realize I'm actually born in Vietnam. Most people think I'm from here, but I'm really not from here originally. So, there you go.
My name is Chris Taylor. I have 2 graduates from Lakota East. Third student that will be a freshman this year, Lakota freshman. So, had 100 great experiences and a few not so great. And the hope is to kind of share, learn, and expose and express kind of opportunities of how we may be closer together as a community and as a people. So, I'm excited to be here.
Personal experience. We've had, and Doug, just tell us who you are.
Doug Cooper, 2 children who are Lakota graduates and a graduate to be, rising senior, and I can't possibly improve on the virtuous reasons for being here that others have said, plus I'm tardy, so people who I respect very much asked me to take this role, and I was honored to say yes.
Sure. I have been in the district for, my oldest is 28, so we moved in when she was 2, so 26 years. 2 graduates, a 2013 from here, Lakota East, and a 2016 from here, from Lakota East. I, like Yasmin, have been a PTA president in every building that my kids serve. I sat on many committees within the district, and then once my, because I was so involved in volunteering, that once my youngest went to college, I'm like, hey, now what am I going to do? And so somebody, I can't remember who, twisted my arm to run for the board, and so. Probably not. And so here I am. So all of you that are in buildings that are volunteering and president, be careful, it's just a very short step from here.
I first became a Lakota volunteer in 1997 when all the other moms in the room stepped back when she said, who wants to be the kindergarten room mom? So I've been a volunteer in Lakota since then, continuously. 2 sons, graduates from Lakota West, but still love all the Lakota East kids. Let's make that very clear. Also, like Yasmin and Kelly, very involved officer at all the different levels of district parent council, and actually founded our President's Council, which is sort of a support group for those doing that work. And very, very proud of Lakota and the district that it is. Thank you all so much for sitting around the table with us. We want this to be a casual, very honest place where we can have respectful conversation. When we talk about the word diversity, I really take it back to what does that mean to our kids. And our kids all have different learning needs, different learning styles, different cultural backgrounds, different experiences that they've had. And out of all of those different pieces, there may be barriers to learning for them. And so what do we need to do as a community coming together to talk about what are those barriers for our students? And how can we help our students overcome those? So it's the diversity of what our students need that we're going to be focused on. The mission for our group is the purpose of the Lakota Community Diversity Council is to establish a supportive and a welcoming environment for our students and our staff of all backgrounds. We will work to make sure that all students have the same opportunities for success, and we will work to break down barriers to student learning for all students. Our board had a fairly lengthy discussion on this at our June 5th, 2023 meeting. You may find it of interest if you pop some popcorn and want to go hear the discussion around what the board envisioned for this group. But it is a work in progress, so we expect it to continuously be evolving as we go. Your input on how we can make it better and improve it as we go is really important to us as well. Dr. Loney, would you like to take a moment?
I'd just like to reiterate what Mrs. O'Connor has said. I'm really hopeful that the conversation will lead to a broader understanding of what Lakota schools are about and how we serve our students in the best way possible. Because diversity is not just one thing, it's several things that affect several students in different ways. Many of you expressed the diversity of your own children as we introduce ourselves. If I talk to you about my 2 sons, they are very, very different learners. They are very, very different in their interests. They're very, very different in the paths that they chose when they graduated from high school. So diversity is making sure that we accept what the student needs to have, and that we actually meet that student where he or she is and move them forward so that they have a successful time in school and after school, that we prepare them for their future and making sure that whatever diverse learning styles they have, whatever needs they have as far as the socioeconomic needs that sometimes affect our students, those sorts of things, that we're aware of those and that we try to make sure that our students are served in the best way possible. So I appreciate everybody being here. It's a 6 o'clock meeting that's going to last for a couple of hours, and I know many of you have worked either in your home or at work, and it's a long day, so I do appreciate your time and your efforts to be here and the positive conversations that we'll have. So thank you so much.
Just a quick, is there someone?
Not yet.
So we were not had one of the members who's going to be online. She was unable to attend. We did get a request to be recommended a date, and she wanted to be able to jump in.
So the only reason I reference that is just in case we're having a conversation and they're getting noticed. Also not enough.
Yes, and I do have an external speaker if. But right now it's not recording.
Thank you, Nicole.
No, we're just, again, thankful you took the time to be here, so we appreciate all of the different thoughts that were here tonight. Thank you.
And this has been a work in progress for about 2 years now, so it's really exciting to see it finally come to fruition. This is an official board committee, and so we do have a few pieces we have to have that are formal, but they will be few and far between. What we just did will be our roll call, although it'll just be a say your name next time. And we'll move to number 2, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
The chair will second. All in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, the motion passes. We've done our welcome and our introductions. Jeff is going to walk us through our rules for engagement. And if you have any questions, again, it's a very informal setting. Just go ahead and ask your questions, say what you need to say. Jeff?
Okay, great. Again, my name is Jeff Steck. I've been facilitating conversations like this for the district for a long time. Diverse communities are awesome. You guys have a very diverse community. Most people in the region do not understand that, but it's incredibly diverse out here. Makes for a rich community, but also makes for a lot of potential conflict. And so one of the things that this group needs to do and keep in mind is that you're modeling what's possible in a diverse community. So every time you guys get together, and this is a diverse group, the culture that you create in this little micro community is going to model what's possible in a larger community. And so to do that, these I didn't come up with these, but the gentleman who did swears by them, and I've used them a lot, and I think they're fantastic. The 3 practices that to use in having any difficult conversation. Number 1, be unusually interested in others. Be curious. 2, stay in the room with differences. Stay in your body. Stay in your calm self. Don't let that anger self take you outside of your normal self so that you regret what you say. So stay in the room, stay in yourself, and stop comparing your best to other people's worst. Because we've all got pros and cons. Arguments have pros and cons. Ideologies, visions, all have pros and cons. And this gets folks in trouble. So this is just something that we're going to have up every time. But what's most important is, what do you want the culture of this room and these rooms to be over the course of the next year? And I like, of course, folks who values. These are many rules that I like to have. But what are the values? Respect goes without saying. But I like to link every value as best we can to, okay, respect. Well, what does respect look like? So who would like to take what behavior would model or demonstrate to other people that you respected something? Purposeful listening. Yeah, listen, intently, purposely. Well, actually, let's do that. So that's one. Does anybody object that I added respect as a value? Because I can't add mine. Okay, it's going to go without saying. So respect, and I'll put deep listening. So other things, anything that you guys want to suggest, and now let me make sure I got this in the middle enough. Either way, you can jump in either way. What values do you think are really important? And what behaviors do you think are important to see in this room over the next year?
let's do this. Turn to a partner, turn to somebody next to you and talk to them about values and behaviors. See, then everybody has to talk. So then I'll debrief in a couple minutes. So grab somebody next to you, talk for 3 minutes, 3 minutes. Values and behaviors.
These values on
I'm here, man. I cannot count on whether it's good or bad. Okay, just want to give you a little second to warm up. We're going to do a lot of small group work over the next however many minutes today and hours going forward. You guys have to build the connections in order to build a culture that is able to handle difficult questions. So this is just a little taste of getting to know each other around values and behaviors. So what would, I heard, yes, go ahead.
Vulnerability.
Vulnerability. Okay, great. Anything else? Empathy is a value. Empathy and vulnerability, they sort of go together, right? It's nice to have somebody empathize with somebody being vulnerable. What else? I overheard you guys, and I have to admit, I kind of like what you were saying, but.
We were talking about being welcome, just are welcome and accepted. You know, calling people by their names. We're glad you're here, and building that relationship.
Yeah. So what is building a relationship? That's a behavior, but sort of a category. What does building a relationship look like? We've got listening already.
We talked about the idea.
Well, maybe we're not going to always agree. Maybe being like a safe place where you can ask questions. You can ask me questions that maybe you wondered about. And if you ask me a question, I know that we're in a safe place. Like maybe you have questions about the Hispanic culture. And I know that you're not going to be saying it in a way where I'm going to take it wrong. But I'd rather you learn from me than to make a judgment out there and you know, just be disrespectful. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm an open book here. So.
I really like that because it's the idea of giving each other the grace to navigate the conversation, knowing that, I mean, my belief system is none of us is coming here to be mean or rude or disrespectful to anyone else. So let's give ourselves the grace to navigate that.
Sandy, what's the
It comes out really ugly.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, I'm asking you to ask me. So
your fundamental intent, everyone's fundamental intent is to be like, okay, I know you're not.
Exactly.
Okay, that's right. Yeah.
I want to learn. I want to learn.
Yes. So Ben and Sandy and Caesar, can I put the positive, assume good intentions in the questioner? Okay. I just always want to put it in the positive. It's hard to behave. I'm not. So.
I think that also ties into our conversation over here. And not that it's a bad word, but ignorance can be a positive or bad.
Yeah.
There's a lot of us sitting around this table, but there's also a lot of ignorance around this table. And I think if we open ourselves up to understand and to truly know that, then we open ourselves up to grow and to learn from each other and know that we don't all know everything. There's a lot that we don't know individually and collectively.
Yeah. If this were easy, we wouldn't be here, right? The diversity of opinions and the variety of potential answers, right? We don't know everything, so to come at it as just assume we know nothing about it. So that beginner's mind in the Zen methodology, just assume you don't know anything about diversity at all. That way, all you're doing is learning.
And once you value that ignorance, then you're more open to
Yeah.
absorbing
Yeah.
a little bit of extra knowledge.
And I think to go back on that with the ignorance piece is
I
to
know
jump
it's
on
a
the
bad
grace.
word, but I mean,
No,
it's
but the
a
grace
word.
and the mercy, being immersive. You know, we all need to display that because there is ignorance, like you said, in the room, whether it's purposeful or just unknowing.
Yeah.
So I think that goes back to that.
Tolerance has a value.
Tolerance, yeah.
I may not celebrate a point of view, but I can tolerate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeff, I don't know if what we talked about was a value or behavior, but we talked about listening to hear and not listening to respond. So truly listening to hear the person and not forming in your head what you're listening to form in your head what your response is going to be.
That's what hear and understand.
Sure.
So that seek first, understand, right?
To be constructive and the big behavior would be problem solving.
Yeah. What's the behavior around, if we value our own ignorance, the beginner's mind, what do we do? How do we do that? Very good. Okay, great.
All
Okay.
questions are okay.
Yep. Ask a lot of questions, do a lot of deep listening. Okay.
Would also a behavior of that would be, believing another person's story to be their truth.
Yeah. Yeah, keyword is their truth, right? We all have a different truth. We're all looking at the same fire from a different angle. Other bad behaviors, yeah.
And to go along with what Cindy said, that was exactly my thought of hearing to understand and reflect. I thought about what Chris said about, 100 positives and a couple negatives, that rather than get defensive about, well, it was just one or two things, not
Yeah.
that, but to hear
Yeah.
the behavior of accepting, and that's their lived experience, and
Yeah.
how do we learn from that and grow from that?
Yeah. Oh, so there's an intention to learn and grow.
Right.
This is part of my fuzzy. So we got ask a question, listen to hear and understand, reflect on that. I put first, or you could put reflect before what? Spit out your own stuff, right? So it's not just hearing it, it's let's marinate. We might need to marinate for a couple meetings worth before we dive into some gigantic difficult.
Our very similar conversation started with the phrasing willing to be wrong. Then that green shooted into willing to be persuaded.
Yeah, willing is a great word for all this stuff. Because it's hard.
I think truth has a value, not my truth, your truth, but just the word truth, and I know that can open up a lot of discussion about it, but I think that, a lot just based in truth.
So do we want to seek it?
Seek truth.
Seek truth? What else around truth? Seek, I thought, but is that okay, seek truth? Any other?
And I was for me, I thought honesty of just that what's shared, we're not going to second guess, that's the honest truth. And we're just trusting that we're moving forward with that.
Yeah. So faith in the process a little bit, yeah. That's a big, because it's going to be messy. It's not just my handwriting that's going to be messy, right? The process is messy. These are difficult issues, getting to know people that are very different, especially how they see things. Can I throw out one more thing that the motion needs to be seconded? along with honesty is authenticity. Speak to the world what you're actually feeling on the inside. Does anybody value that balance? Okay. Okay, great. Yeah, and that goes with vulnerability. Yeah, right. In truth, yeah. Be authentic.
When you think about the purpose of the committee, diversity, we say diversity a lot. There's a lot of talk of diversity in the last few years. However, many times we don't talk about what it is. Diversity is all of our differences. It's our values, our beliefs, our religion, our faith, our experiences, the color of our skin, how people treat each other. We have to be very honest about why we're here, but also very honest and constructive on what's the end result. What do we, as a school district, how does that apply in a school district? And what is the end result for our kids, our teachers, and administrators, and how we move forward and how we apply that? Because values and beliefs, we all have values and beliefs, but it's how it's applied when we're having those discussions. Because mine could be different from yours, but foundationally, we could probably find somewhere where we can move forward. And where we're going to have to say, my truth may not be yours. So factually, how do we move forward?
So if somebody always is the person that says that's the link to the next segment, because Leah is going to give you a foundation in diversity inside of this school district, some factual foundation and context through a lovely.
We're gonna play games.
Oh, one last thing, we will add to this as we go. So if we have challenges, I need to add a value or behavior to the board, we will keep doing that. Okay, sorry.
No, that's all right. I figured the best way for us to get to know each other was we play a game, but also that we all start with that same common knowledge of what Lakota Office of Diversity and Inclusion is. I'm very fortunate to work in the parent and community piece of it. Aisha works with our staff and our buildings and our students, and Lauren helps us to pull it all together. So, if you want to. So we're going to put up a question. We're going to start. We're not doing a final Jeopardy. We're doing an initial Jeopardy, and we have prizes. I'm just telling you.
Is there a
So,
double Jeopardy?
I'm sorry. No, you. Yes. Okay. So, 2014.
That's when a committee was formed to be able to talk about and have discussions around that topic.
So it began with just step and a community conversation, and it really centered the same as what we're doing now, is looking at our student improvement, our student academic success. And it was something that we really were looking at the opportunity for what it looked like for our AP students and why we did not have the diversity in our AP classes that we had in our freshman and sophomore classes. And why was that? And how could we change that? And parents really talking about, what does that look like? How does that access? So that's how we started. So it's not something that was a new creation. We actually, this started from parents just like you. And almost 10 years later, we're still doing this work because it's that important and it's ever changing. So we're going to go to our whole board. You can choose a question, any category, but the reason these categories are here, we have gifted, we have special ed, and notice I have acronyms underneath it. In education, we talk a lot in abbreviations. So special ed is also SD. Socioeconomically disadvantaged is SED. English as a second language, ESL, and student wellness. Those are kind of the categories that we work in, and the great thing about that is these are the categories that you would also see on our district report card. So the data that you're looking at, or the questions you have, can all be identified from our district report card. Some of this is the most current data, some of this is off of our 21-22 report card, because unfortunately our report cards are really, at this point, we're starting our second school year from the last time the report card came out. The new report card will be out in about a month or two. But that way you can kind of target us, where does that data really come from? It really exists. It's out there. It's public record. It's also on the ODE website. It's on our Lakota website that Betsy keeps up. So, anybody want to jump into the category? And Lauren, want to do prizes? Oh, sure.
So Ben's question was how many for the underdog prize?
So everybody's a winner right from the start. So you all have, I look how we're putting on our pens and pad of paper. You automatically, everybody got that one. So now we've got cards. Okay. Who's got a question?
Gifted for 100.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, my screen is. So the answer is 29%, or 4,972 students. We think the questions.
Students currently served by gifted programs.
It's close, but it's how many years you have in this. So not all of them are.
Yep.
Oh, wait, you have it. Sorry. Okay.
Yes.
Land, right?
Yes. Yes, another question. So yeah, just.
I know.
Another category or another question.
Student wellness record.
10%, or 1,637 students. Roughly the population of 2 elementary schools. Anybody got close?
How many students on 3 of your school?
Close, but not quite there. Student wellness.
Students who have seen professional or
You're on a roll. It is. 10% of our students this past year were referred for mental health therapy in our buildings.
I learned that at DPC just so you know.
Socioeconomic disadvantage for you.
More than 80. More than 80. So, more than 80, that is our number of homeless students in our district. We run somewhere between 80 and sometimes as many as 125. And so these are students that, you know, again, we pay attention to not only what's going on with the student at school, but also how do we support that family.
ESL for 5.
34. Close, but not quite. Go ahead, click the answer. The number of ESL teachers we have that are specialized to work with our students to do push in or pull out throughout our district.
ESL 300.
I'm sorry.
ESL 300.
Mom. Thank you. Has another meaning. Spelling's a little different.
It's a dialect spoken in Guatemala.
So when we talk about ESL, it's one of the dialectical languages actually from Central and South America. We have a lot of families that speak a dialectical language, which is only oral. So automatically when somebody says, oh, well, they speak Spanish, that's really their second language, but it also means that because it was only an oral language, you can send things home in Spanish, but that's not a skill that they have to be able to be literate in. So that's also something we consider when we're looking at how we connect with families.
I would, but I would probably hit someone.
All right, pick another category.
special ed for 200.
Okay. 3.
What is the number of parent groups?
But not quite.
Did you get the first, the 29%? What category was that under?
What is the phone number of our special ed director?
She is not option 3, but it was.
Let's skip it.
Okay, go ahead and click. So as a school district, we are required to start working with our children when they're 3, in that 3 to 5, which is why we have Lakota preschool. That's how some of our identified students are served, and that's also a way for us to be able to start building that relationship with families.
Let's stay with special ed for 100.
I know. Oh, 10.1%.
Population of special ed students.
Specifically,
On an IEP.
specifically K-12. So again, I just mentioned our preschool. This does not include preschool. This is just K-12. All right.
Student wellness for 2.
Student wellness. 10.
Is that the number of therapy dogs?
Very good. That is how many therapy dogs are currently in Lakota. All right, another category. No, we have not. 9. Socioeconomic disadvantage. Anybody got a guess? So, a share. 9 is the number of liaisons we have in the district that work with our families that are 200% of poverty or below. All of our buildings are covered by a liaison. Our liaisons cover anywhere from 1 to 4 buildings, depending on the age group they're serving. But we have 9 that work specifically so that that academic piece is still held in the classroom and in the school building, and the parent piece that may be impacting that, we're able to support them as well.
Is that the 500?
No. Just do it. 5. Very good. Go ahead and click the answer.
What did you say, Yasmin?
It said how many, so when you see GIS, a gifted intervention specialist that are in the district serving our families. All right. We have a couple that we haven't gone through, so I think let's just go ahead and click on that because I'm getting the time signal. So, WEP, under the gifted category. So this is the written education plan that's done for a gifted student. And this is different than an IEP, an individualized education plan that's done for a special ed student. That IEPs are federally mandated, a written education plan is handled differently. 7th grade.
The time to start.
Good test. So when students can access advanced, honors, college credit plus, and AP classes, starting in 7th grade. Gifted education can also be served in the lower elementary grades, but that's specifically. So 170, and this is in special ed. 170. Good guess, but no, go ahead and click the answer. So a lot of times you'll hear about a student receiving services outside of the district. For students in special ed, they receive opportunities either through the John Peterson or the Autism Scholarship. And so in our district, we have 170 that are being served in that manner. Everybody else is being served here in the district in their buildings that are their home buildings, to be inclusive.
Would they typically be in other schools or at home? Or both?
Probably in other schools, because for example, we may have a family who has a child who has cochlear implants, and they want to use something like Ohio Valley Voices. That's a specialized education with that cochlear implant to be able to do differently. And Andrea, am I answering that correctly?
John Peterson's through scholarship providers, so they're non-educational entities. So these are students, parents who apply for the Peterson or scholarship or the autism scholarship. So they are not Lakota students. They've waived their state offering through Lakota. So we do have students who are outside of Lakota and are served besides these students.
Okay, 14. We're still under special education. Go ahead and click the answer. And that is the qualifying areas for a student. So there are specific qualifications for students to receive special education services, and there are 14 of those. Probably got a 100 or, 100 for socioeconomic. Okay, ESL. 10.2 or 1,759 students. Oh, okay. Yep, that's an ESL. Socioeconomics. 18.4. 3,016. That is the number of students currently being served on free and reduced lunch in our district. Free and reduced only goes to 185% of poverty, and our liaisons can go 200% because of that. And just go ahead and run down.
During COVID, did they open up to
For the meal parts of it, yes. There were still income guidelines that were not enforced, but for families that were qualifying for it through other means like the SNAP program, then that was something that it was still coming straight from the state.
And the USDA had a grant and nationwide lunches for everyone.
All right, so this is under student wellness, 7th to 12th grade. Go ahead and click it. So what grades have peer-to-peer prevention programs in place? In our junior high, we have Sources of Strength, and at the high school level, we have Hope Squad. And we are working on, building that opportunity because students at that developmental age really look to their peers. And so helping them to then have trusted adults to deal with. Vision and hearing. So go ahead and click on that.
Services tries to provide that in elementary level. I don't know how far down.
So it's actually, that is provided every year on our incoming kindergartners, any new students, and then some targeted grade levels. The reason that's under student wellness, besides that health piece of it, is that within our district this last year, our nurses for well check for just this saw children 35,500 times. Because certain grade levels get both, 7th grade only gets vision, but that is twice a year that this trusted adult in their building also gets kind of that well check opportunity to touch our students. So just on well checks, when you think about your school nurses, 35,000 of those. No, go to, I think it's question 2 or 3 in socioeconomics. 200. 55,500. This is what 200% of poverty is for a family of 4. So right now, it's something that our families, we're looking at, $55,000 a year. And our last one here, no, go down one more. 25,759. How much money is outstanding in our lunch accounts? So for our children that are on free and reduced lunch, our actual dollar amount is about 5,000 total. The other 40,000 is ballpark, our families that have not qualified. And the reason that that number is important is because that might be at 185%, they qualify for lunch. At 186, they don't. But that doesn't mean that that family's not in need, and we don't need to pay attention and try to provide supports and access. So that's why we kind of pay attention to all of these things, and that is what got us in the first communication.
Were any one of those questions identifying how many different languages are spoken?
Go ahead and go to, I want to say it is probably 300. No, 400. No, 200. $60. In our district, we have 60, and if you go back to 400, the reason that, go to the question at 400. The reason 11 is important, go ahead, click the answer. We have 60 languages. Within our own community, we have 11 local translators that are part of our Lakota community that can speak with our families. Right off the bat, they may be in their buildings, they may be, aged out of that building, but still working as translators in our district. So 11 languages right off the top that we do not have to contract with from a phone service or anything like that to be able to help families feel like they are a part of it.
So 60 languages translates into how many ESL students?
Right now, go back up to 100. Our number right now, to 100 on ESL. Right now is about 10%, 1759, so about 2 elementary buildings.
That's pretty close to how many sped students, right? I mean, when you think about it now, the ESL number is rapidly getting next to how many sped.
It's more, I think. I would say that our ESL, when you actually look at the report cards, our ESL stays ballpark about 10% of our student population. And so when you look historically, we're about 10%. So yes, it has grown, but again, our student enrollment numbers have grown. But we pretty much over the last couple of years have stayed ballpark about 10%.
ESL numbers go up every fall because the new kids coming in tested. So that's 1,700, probably 2,000 by the end of the year.
But those students are not excluded from testing or report card or anything like that, right?
There are.
We gotta wrap. I was looking for.
Jeff, you're gonna have, we can answer some specifics afterwards.
Okay. It's all,
So now nobody has to read 10 pages of that. We're good.
Okay, so here is what we're gonna do. Well, I will tell you what we're gonna do next. What you're gonna do next is you're gonna migrate to these, not this little skinny table, but there's 5 tables with paper in the middle. I need you guys to go over these tables and gather with people you know the least.
How many tables?
Go.
5?
Piece of pen, yeah, take it down the paper, yeah,
How many is there?
5 or 6. Just 5. Don't go to 6 unless we have to. I think it's the exact number. I've got extra chairs if we need it, but do 5s first. And try to, just don't do it with people that you're very close to. We can go to 6 if we have to, but I want to make sure we got 5 everyone first. change your computers and the rest will be back, so this will be this time. Okay, so you see in the center of the table, we've got two things that we're going to do. We're going to look at goals, we're going to look at strategies. This is just the first broad brush, sort of divergent, brainstorming kind of take on what could the goals be. Now that we know the goals, then we're going to move into what strategies might help us achieve those goals. It's only going to be 40 minutes. Obviously, that is nothing, right? Like, how are we going to get anything, work on that in 20 minutes? But we just need to get a sense of where you're at. So the first step is just focus on goals. What do you want this committee to achieve? End results that you can measure, that you can see, that you could, we put 40 new teachers in the room, or in the district doing diversity work, or ESL work, or whatever it is. You have 2 pages that say goals. One is just for chaotic brainstorming. The other is to boil these 3 things down to your top your top 3. So whatever you get on the first page, boil it down, prioritize the top 3. I'm going to read out, and these are not necessarily the answers, but there's 7 things that we spoke about at the planning team meeting. And so I'm going to read these, and what I want you guys to talk about, what do you appreciate? What questions do you have about these? And then requests. And requests is where you would put, well, I think we should, or could we work on this goal? Could we work on that goal? So let me read these, as Ben is straining. So first, lower the temperature on the community dialogue around diversity. Things have been hot, things have been conflictual. This group could lower the temperature on that. Educate the district about diversity issues. There's a lot of misinformation. Get everybody on the same factual playing field. Communicate with the community. Back and forth. Listen to the community, what they think about diversity issues, and then speak back to the community. Being ambassadors in that way. React. This group can react to something. Something could flare up. God forbid, to see things happen and get put on people's driveways or whatever it is. You could react. What will help the district? The administrators. What are we going to do about that crisis or that issue that's bubbling up? You can build a culture. How do we help support and create a great culture around diversity, this great diverse community? How are we going to build a culture in the schools? How do we build a culture outside of the schools? Whatever that looks like. Support students by, and this might need to be much more specific, but this could be all sorts of different potential sub-goals. But you could just focus on how do you make the academic experience better for kids, as opposed to how do you make the cultural experience better for kids. Very different kinds of goals, but we just want to get a sense of where you're at. And then one thing that we will probably do next time, I can't promise it, but is define diversity for this group. What does that even mean to you? That's sort of a no-brainer. So what I want you guys to do is use these 2 sheets however you want to come up with 3 top ones. Appreciations, what do you appreciate about those? What questions you have about those? And then request is, what would you ask this body to work on or work toward? Everybody got it? Okay, go. Oh, yes. Y'all about 10 minutes and then we'll do a little No, so first thing is, what do you appreciate about that? The second thing is, what questions you have about that? Third thing, what would you request? What notes I I'm going to read out. special list. Lots of.
So let's start the conversation.
So that was just our starting point. So this is just our starting
And ultimately, yeah, because you said that ultimately boiled down to the 3-year work district. I'm gonna get it. We just wanted to sit and report out.
I can appreciate that.
What's listed there is the law.
What I heard was everything in purple is the consensus principles or priorities from New Zealand. I don't know how long ago they concluded such
So like I'm involved. So
I like
The list has been rewritten in a more legible format.
Not really.
Not really. What do you
There's still a lot. We're gonna be right?
Well, we could change it based on the
So we have, we're gonna add
in my brain for that. Right, so bad things, how you guys help the
We appreciate Sally Campbell.
no matter what we want to do. Our views, like, like kind of the truth earlier. Yes.
That is like every time.
That's a question. So what do you mean when you say react? Are we reacting to people's concern?
Some of the time, some but there's a lot of things. They don't want me to get in trouble. They can't do too much of that.
Your reaction, if you want to call me
is some expectations. Not
we as a committee react? What is, maybe?
Failing to recognize
Clarity on the action.
go in the direction of, I'm not going to I'm going to assume that you are assuming it's about me because of what I'm seeing. Wipe that clean. The goal is to start with an expectation.
That is a question. Are we considering? Yeah, so I'm not maybe advisory.
Not just look for the government, make sure purpose of things start there. Goals.
We bring it back to would we be as ambassadors? Sharing knowledge. There you go, because I can be an ambassador, just take notes. Thanks for my coach. I can tell a whole story, just,
Just a couple more minutes, so start playing yours, Isaac.
Do you have any requests? We've got a couple of questions.
Write about something funny.
Yeah, we're thinking, are there any requests?
It's kind of
I think a lot of the teachers define expectations for the year.
meaning when the temperature is elevated or you start talking about financing, stop, take a beat, remind yourself that is this conversation.
So define first
trending that way?
expectations
Or is it trending something else?
That's a good,
Love to say.
fair request.
Okay, I think I got it. Okay.
I know the first year's hard. Think about that, but I would love to supplement time.
You might know that he's,
Is there something in place, or how do you, right, how do we,
Oh,
that's what Sarah's for. Now, do we need 3 individuals to narrow down?
That's what I was saying.
No, I grabbed because I was like, are they
Okay, last minute, wrap up, that's fine. 1 minute.
yeah, or we number them, we either take, rewrite them, or we number them, yeah. Not like it's, we can number. So, these are all moving goals. And questions we had
Okay, come on back, we're right on time. This is not the end of this conversation. It's just the beginning of a journey that will last a lifetime. Or at least a year, I guess. Okay, it's time, wherever you're at is fine. If you can hear me, clap 3 times. Okay. Okay, what group wants to start with, and I apologize for the awful instructions. It's just, and the awful original writing of these 6 things. All it was, what do you like about those 6 things? What are your questions about those 6 things? And what would you add to those 6 things? I don't know how
She just said that.
I don't know how I didn't quite go well, so I apologize. So, what do you like about these? This was just a starting point. What do you like about those?
Okay, we're going to go. Get it
Go.
Okay. Leave it out here and get it over. So we like that there was diverse goals there listed. That was an appreciation. We like that they were inclusive goals. That they actually looked to include all students. And that we were looking at more than just academics also.
Okay.
And other things.
Okay, great. Thank you. Who else wants some popcorn out? Yes.
I think in just listening to our group speak, there was a lot surrounding about really the student and not so much to be involved in politics.
You like that?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Focus on the students. Okay. What else in your group? Over there. Who hasn't spoken from that? What was a high point for you in your group around the appreciation of this initial 6?
Well, we talked about a lot of different things.
Just what strikes you right now? That's intuition will strike.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll just, one thing that went to my mind was I'm not real interested in learning everything it means about lowering the 10th. I'm interested in being here now, what we're doing now to help the kids.
Okay, now to help them. Okay, great, awesome. Yeah, it's just what you're.
A lot of coaches don't know exactly what that means, and it's like, you want to go.
Yeah, let's get to the work there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we could define diversity for 6 months. Let's get to the work and help the kids around it. Okay. Other groups, what else do you appreciate?
We appreciated lowering the temperature and used focusing on students as a gatekeeping, level-setting mechanism to do it. If you get too heated, take a beat, ask yourself, is this still about the kids?
Yeah.
And if not, reset yourself and maybe even change topics.
Yep. Okay, got it. Any table, anyone, what appreciations were most resonant at your tables?
I gotta call the truth. Sounds
They write my hand.
We appreciate that.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah, the handwriting. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm slow on the funny update. What do you got? Good.
I did say I can appreciate that list, and I can also appreciate that it's a pretty small order for a group that's meeting 4 times a year.
Yes.
Tall order. So is the tall order, well, we can throw a request in, which there was a reason to have requests. Like, it's a tall order, would that lead to a request that let's focus
So
on?
it's actually 4 times during the school year.
Yes, during the school year.
Okay, I just
Yeah,
wanna
4 times during the school year. Would you want to, does that tall order lead to a request of, well, let's tighten it up a little bit? Focus on something we can do.
I didn't think that necessarily.
Okay. I just
Not
sort of,
necessarily,
check.
just
Okay.
recognizing that it's a
It's all
lot.
right. Got it. Okay, got it. Okay, let's, Leah.
And I would say that our group, one of the things that they shared for that list was just the idea that we were all shared together here to be able to have a common interest in our students.
Okay, have a common interest. Okay, great. That is that's a unifying, anything we do together is going to be good. Okay.
Well, and a request may be, because our table kind of focused on, not necessarily focused, but one thing that rose to the top of the discussion was ignoring the 10th statement. So there's reason why this committee is being formed and we're all here. Everyone may not know all the reasons. So one request maybe is like, hey, quick history, why are we all here? What is bringing us all together? That one we're starting in the same page, because there are reasons and there are needs. And when you talk about those things, then everybody, okay, we all know the reasons and the needs. Do we want those to be the reasons and the needs? And so that may be for the next meeting.
Yeah.
You'll talk about that. Because that temp, that high temp, some of us have felt or witnessed, and also many of us have also barely paying attention to that and still see everything being okay at the district student level.
Let's go.
I'm trying to call it, we'll open it for quieter folks. Any of you three, so.
Who's gonna bail your two table mates out?
Stark contrast.
I would, so I can do both.
I was just gonna say that one of the things that we were talking about, here at our tables is whether or not the terms and the words that we're using to try to get to the core matters are the terminology that we want to drive this committee in our actions, because some of those words can get a little bit politicized. But underneath the concept, when you say diversity, equity, inclusion, there's a lot of things within that sound a little intimidating, uncomfortable. And so when we use these targeted words, are we automatically shutting the door to some people who I think, would be open and more understanding if there was a dialogue that didn't seem so immediately. That was something that we talked about here, and I thought that was
Beautifully said.
Does all of this lead to maybe some more laser focused pinpoint type goals or groups? Very specific things. We talk about 15 different bullet points that are include everything. It becomes very difficult to decide what you're going to focus on.
It's usually maybe three people, smaller groups that have pinpointed, that's a big topic, and pinpoint something in there. That's stuff I don't do. Are you passionate about it? You guys figure out in that little group what you're gonna work on, so that's another model for how we discuss.
Other thoughts, just anything that struck you about those conversations? Especially I'm now concerned about what you would add to or request of this list.
We talked about measurements at some point, being able to know that we're doing something and making a difference.
It's the whole SMART goals.
And we realize that might be hard the first year, but we want to at least establish what the metrics.
It's gotta be part of the conversation.
Why are we here? Goals and measuring sticks. We're all kind of connected with our passion for compliance versus aspirational goals. We wanted clarity on that. Is it a compliant, real briefly, if it's a compliance goal, why do we do this? Because the state tells us to. If it's an aspirational goal, does the state tell us to do this? No, but we choose to do it.
And basically, that was the why question. Why are we here? Right, and that's one thing we talked about in that the planning meeting. This is how you talk about very concrete, practical, right now versus very visionary, transformative kinds of things that have only remote relevance.
I think that's what we're struggling at our table, is trying to understand the why. I think because it is a very broad topic of conversation, it can go a lot of different directions. But I know for me, practical sense of everything we do is very important to me. So I would like to see a practical sense of why we're here, not just pie in the sky.
Okay, so well, then but that would capture that request. Not pie in the sky. Practical. Sky. Okay, so what we're going to do next, unless Linda and Kelly or Dr. Lally, some combination of those three give me the hook and pull me aside. Any strategic planning, and I'm sure some of you have been a GE or P&G, it's always why, what, how. Why are you here? What are you going to accomplish, and how are you going to do it? Well, it sounds like, how many of you have some uncertainty about the why here? Just by quick show of hands. That's not too many. Who's not 80% comfortable with the current why?
Rephrase that a different way.
Yeah, so when I think a consensus is 80% of a group is comfortable with something. So, you're going to have doubts about anything. So right now, if you're sitting here thinking, I got some questions, but I pretty much understand why we're here. You're 80% comfortable with why we're here, your understanding of why we're here. How many are 80% comfortable with it? Okay, so we got more than less. Well, let's do the why. So at your tables, talk about why. Why are we here? Before we do that, let's give a quick framing. What are the big? What are the polarities here? What are the opposites? Like, there's pie. We've got pie in the sky. We got pie on one end. We got practical on the other end. What else are the extremes of why we could be here? How would you frame the extremes of why we could be here?
Can I narrow that a little bit?
Anything you want.
What about, what do people, just in your own experiences, take away as what might be barriers for students? Think about very specific groups of students and what might be barriers to them. Military family.
Yeah.
Lower socioeconomic family, no transportation. Those are the kind of things, if we want to get practical and drill way down, just have a brainstorming maybe about that. To me, that is the why. It's identifying the barriers and how do we as a community help with those barriers so that our students are achieving. And I know that sounds high in the sky, but it's not. It's the core competency of what we do.
Well, so the opposite of that would be culture, right? Barriers are very specific, like you said, very micro things. This barrier to this group of folks.
It might not be.
Culture is sort of vibey. How does the place feel?
But it's still large.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the things we listed in the very beginning that we've been reacting to on here were more outreach, public PR. kind of thing, right? Not so much about acute children's needs. So that's the question now.
Right, so that's very different.
Doing that, the community outreach, I shouldn't call it outreach, I'll just say PR because I don't have the better
just
word.
loosely.
But, or are we digging into what the needs are, which the board knows and we all know?
Yeah,
It could be an and, then that makes this.
Well, this is just I'm just trying to frame the debate. We've got pie in the sky, we've got sort of visionary things, and we've got very practical as a way to frame it. We've got cultural things versus student barriers, so that's sort of collective vibe versus individual student blocks for achievement. We've got PR, relationships with the community and what they know versus actually in the room. Just trying to frame that that's three different polarities that haven't been resolved about why you're here. And until you know, just to take, are we out here to educate the community, or are we here to work on very specific barriers in classroom? That's tremendously it. And you guys have to grapple with that. It could be a both and.
I feel like it has to be a bit of both. I mean, I feel like we're all community members. It's really important for us to go out, when we're out, we're talking, I mean, we're keeping all this positive, and then.
So let me say, talk about, in your group, why are you here? Understand what the polarities are, and then try to figure out where you want to be. Where do you need this group to be? Why are you here, fundamentally, at the core?
I think it should translate into PR into the community. Yeah, that's exactly. They really go hand in glove. No, I'm not going out.
You guys make it. And that's what we're not speaking.
That's why I thought I would be able to and having had.
Here's some ways we can go with that. You know, you're looking at
Diverse, all of us are all different, so everybody brings something different to the table.
because you're kind of, yeah, you're kind of head point, right?
We're not.
You just got to now. Okay, so
No, I work on the chamber, and we go through all their shit, our world reliance, but they tend to share the same level. I was working in high school, they shared with me. And we can do any different, we can do it any different. Just how I met some people in this room. So what I'm at here is we bring different diverse perspectives. That's one of our answers to the library. Personally, not only perspectives, I care about the temperature right now. I care about, creating different narratives. I've been here for 16 years. That is my purpose. But, I always say, it's for the reason I'll tell you my family. So I'm here because I care about America. I care about, and I think that affects students. It affects families. So I don't know if that's a but we all keep almost did. Almost did. From Westchester to town. But a contract on the house is very low. House new is about He goes, John's $50,000 over I'll have that. I like that.
So maybe you start talking about the language. It's all different things. Absolutely. That makes you a whole lot better.
Some of
Just one more minute. One more minute. let's go back to one conversation. Okay, come on back. We're back. We're back. Okay, we've got like 10 minutes. I need quick headlines. Quick headlines. What light bulbs went off? And I mean quick because I want to get as many insights, as many lightning bulbs of insight that you. Yes, sir.
Okay. Just a comment. I came here very clearly. The purpose of the council to establish supportive and welcoming school environment for Lakota students and staff. That's what I came to brainstorm, and how can we do that?
That's the first line of the thing that we signed.
And the rest of it's been confusing to me, I will be honest.
Okay, good. What else?
We are all here because we care about our district community and our students' needs. Basically, we want all students to feel safe, comfortable, and respected at school.
Yep.
All of that, that's what you said too.
What else? What else strikes you now about why you're here?
And we all bring different.
Well, we talked about the fact that like her perspective is unique and mine's unique, and I have ideas about things that happen in my own life and household, as does everybody at the table really, and that it's not necessarily up to us to know exactly what the district needs, but that we have unique ideas that she has not what I know, and likewise with her, so we bring that to the table, and they are very different.
Okay, what else strikes you?
The exampleship of how to care about and appreciate the person next to you and the difference.
What was the first part of that?
Exampleship.
Okay, yeah, exampleship, I got it. Okay, what else? What else strikes you about why you're here? Yes.
I think there are things a lot of us were talking about why something is missing. Something is missing from the conversations, something, we're all here for something we feel, right? And it's time to, it's time to really get into that.
From the community's conversation about
From the community's conversation.
about diversity inside the district?
Yeah.
Okay.
Inside our schools.
No, well, you're not saying it's the conversation in the school, it's the community's conversation about the schools.
I think it's both.
It's both, yeah, it's the whole thing, yeah, right. It's how something's missing from how you're talking about diversity.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like almost outside of the scope, except, rather than within it.
I put "we" in quotes, so that's internal and external. Something is missing from how we are talking about, and I'll just abbreviate DEI just because it's easy to abbreviate that way. And again, noting terms matter, so that might not be the term we're going to use. What else strikes you? We're going to go around the room. I want everybody to say what's your main. Well, just watch me all the time.
You go.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned terms. I think it's important to define all the terms.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm speaking the same language.
Yeah, defining terms is key. Right. Sir, what strikes you about why you're here?
Why I'm here?
What would you like to say about that you think would benefit the group from your unique perspective?
Exactly what you just talked, or what he just talked about. Defining the DEI, but the way I define the DEI as a person, it should be IED. So I'm here to bring that piece out. I want the inclusion piece. I want the commonality to start with that so that we can get to where we need to go.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, great, that's awesome. Yeah, that's good. I would call,
Yeah, so I think, this is so cliched, but, you know, diversity makes us stronger and it makes our students better and it sets them out, releases them into the world as better people, ready to really assimilate and make a difference. So that's a big one.
Yep. Protect what helps our students succeed.
Yeah, it's all about success.
Yeah. Okay. Just wanna make sure I have
On
that.
every level,
Okay.
learning.
Yeah.
And as they graduate and
Right.
they go to work
Got it.
with other people who look different, think different, act different.
Okay. Just trying, getting everybody that haven't heard from as much as some folks.
Oh, me?
The New Life Chaplain.
Yeah. No, I'm with my teacher over here.
First line.
The first line. You know, I'm a silent partner tonight. I'm just trying to take it all.
The one that was, the one that was on the first line of the
Mission statement.
mission statement, okay. What else? How our Sarah?
I mean, I think our table keeps coming back to the main issue is we talk about students and how is what we're doing here an example for the students and setting them up for success. We talked about how this group could break apart the different groups of students, and then we could dive into, well, what are the actual barriers for those, and is there any group that's too small? If it's 10 students, is that too small? Think about what are the barriers for those students. We don't really have any answers.
So you want to get granular?
Yeah.
Okay. Does everybody know what I mean by granular? It's like get into the nitty gritty of like that, like and how nitty gritty get, how small is too small?
Yeah.
A cohort, I guess I'll just call it.
I just think it's important we have to look at every single student. So I don't think any amount of students are too small, but we need to figure out, what we do, and like going back to what Victor said with, the military kids and things like that, we need to, that's what I want to look at.
Yep.
Let's go into all that.
Yep, I got it.
We set every student up
Yeah.
for success.
Yep.
She speaks for you.
I'm here just because collectively, every single voice of the individuality of every single student matters. And I believe that if the adults get out of the way, the students, their pure little souls are actually what we need to lead with, and they are our models, and that we are better when we listen to them. And, if you sit and you just listen to a group of students and listen how they interact and how they problem solve in kindergarten, we need to go back to those basic foundational pieces as adults.
Yeah, it isn't that sort of the most profoundly diverse statement of the day is there are no students in here, and we're talking about students, and they know more about stuff than we could ever imagine in the rest of our lives. That's how they grow. So this is a totally inverted look at why we're here. We're here to listen to students. I'm not saying that's why we're here, but that's why we're doing this exercise. It's very different than anything anybody else.
Oh, another perspective, we're here as adults. We have a lot more experience than are older than a lot. We should have been the adults in the room.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't, it's hard, I guess I need to hear more on how we let students lead that way.
Yeah. I'm not saying that's the answer. That's
Yeah.
just an inverted paradigm on how to do this. And there's all kinds of research that shows that student leadership and peer is the way that things really transform. What are your
Well, we talked a bit about if we were to draw an analogy or visualize something. We discussed, like growing a garden. You have rich soil and a rich foundation for all students and different types of plants. But you realize that, a cactus needs different ways to be watered or different amounts of sunlight than a tomato plant or than, a geranium. So recognizing that a garden and we give them rich foundation and support what they need to really reach their end result.
Yep, okay.
Toward those of a more practical side, which I am as well, if those are indeed to be our objective, then I believe we should have some measurable outcomes that we're expecting out of those. Whatever those look like, and if there needs to be improvement.
Yeah. There are some things that we definitely, you guys have definitely agreed on. One is measurements. Everybody wants to do that. Aisha?
Well, I'm not too far off from what Andrea was saying, 200% right. I mean, it's not that we're taking advice from kids on like what to do, but we need to keep the kids in the conversation.
They know what they need, right?
They should be a partner in education. They should be involved in their education.
Yeah, let me capture that. Kids know their needs better than they know.
And they have their passions. They know their passions. They're at a very young age.
And aren't their passions diverse?
Yes.
It's a different, when somebody said, focus on the commonality, passion's another sort of inversion of the whole diversity concept. Why does it have to be anything on the outside? Why can't it be something purely on the inside, where something's going versus where they came from? It's right, that's all this, how do you keep flipping their thinking?
Well, and those things, what you just said, and also some of the other things, that's aspirational. And aspirational isn't always practical.
Yes.
But aspirational should inform what we do practically. Because the kids inform us on what their needs are. And we use practices and the Board of Education and the state and the guidelines in order to inform how we apply those. But also, another thought for me, it's practical. We were talking about practicality, is like in order for us to move forward, we have to be practical on how it's actually going to be done. And an honest thing is, we're having diversity council, and one thing from my perspective is there's a reason why we're all here. Maybe not everyone knows. There are powers and there are people that are wanting to remove DEI from the district. Any programs, any aspects, any practices that may or may not have worked in someone's eyes, there are people that want to remove it. So because there are people that want to remove it, we are getting together and having those conversations. And for me, it's for us to have those relationships, have those conversations to inform how we practically do things, to help communicate to the district and the people that translate differently from everyone else in this room, in order to show why it's important, versus it's a boogeyman. And we're just talking about words versus what do those words mean?
Yeah. Okay. Which is a little bit, so there's some why, there's a lot of why in there, Ben. A lot of why content. That was nuanced, complex. A lot in there. We don't have time to unpack it. Right?
That's not even know within this group though who agrees with what you said.
Right, that's not the answer.
I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of discussion to go around that. We just can't just say it's because of that in the story. Now we're here to change.
We haven't decided anything.
To segue.
This is just. Wow, we got some fundamental decisions to make.
To segue off of this conversation, I kind of have a question about process. Only in that, if you go with the whole forming, storming, norming, performing concept of group dynamics, we've come together and we're kind of in the storming process all at the same time. And then we're going to wait how many months or weeks before we meet again. I have a sense that we may end up back in the storming phase again. And how do we, because we are infrequent, that was always my concern. The infrequency of this group makes it feel a little bit like it's a token exercise in futility, and we won't get anywhere.
Especially for the breadth and the complexity and the diversity of opinion and the zillion ways you can attack it. There's a whole lot of, so.
We have to try. We have to start. We can't
Well,
come in with
one question, and Linda said it was a fair question.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that.
I know. I'm just saying
You
we
can
have
also
to
ask the
figure out.
question, one of the reasons only 4 meetings is because leadership thought, oh God, I'm just going to join something that, you got to be here 20 times. Well, if you guys self-select more meetings, that's a whole different story. Now, we're not going to do that now. That's something that can be done virtually. But that is, Linda gave me the nod. This is a fair question. Meet more. You could meet more on Zoom. Now Zoom meetings are different, right? There's a little less intimacy, different kinds of questions,
And we said from the beginning that the group would set the goals and the parameters about the timing. And so if they want more, like you said, we can do that. We can make that decision in a email chain instead of taking up the last 7 minutes.
So we are set, smooth. Okay, so.
Are you a timekeeper? Are you the designated
Thank you for all of that. We are just at the top of this huge funnel that will eventually lead to some, or attempt to lead to some measured success. We know that that is something that you want to do. And we're going to take we're going to digest this stuff. We'll figure out what's the next chunk that we can go down, and what are the right questions to ask to get the next level of clarity, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to turn it back to Linda. Has something for you, right?
Not over here, I'll go get it.
Okay. It's the
Linda, do you want
contract.
everybody back, or?
Why don't we just do that?
Yeah.
We can pass it out.
Before we wrap up, you're welcome to stay as long as you would like to talk and get to know each other a little better. But let me wrap us up first. How many have turned in their letters of agreement? Anybody who still needs to do that? Some people do, but I don't have them all. Oh, you haven't? Okay. That's great. Did you bring it to me? Doug's got it. Okay. Awesome. If you haven't, please make sure that you send it back to Melissa. We also have a little takeaway. What we'd like to do is make sure that every time you guys do have something to take with you to talk about information you've learned about the district, so that you have facts and data. You're welcome to share this with neighbors, family, friends, coworkers. And again, this is toward helping to educate ourselves and our community, so that will go around. Please take one. We would appreciate knowing what kind of facts and information you would like, so that we make sure that we're targeting what it is that you think our community needs to know as well. So please send us notes and emails about that. We'd love to hear your feedback on tonight. I think for our first meeting, it was a good meeting. I hope everybody feels that way. We figured out we can all be in the same room together for 2 hours. It works. So that's positive. Thanks everybody for the respectful conversation. Really appreciate that. There was some good dialogue. And I think we're drilled down to a little more nitty-gritty next time when we get back together. The team will meet and put a plan together. And then we'll get that all out to you in the next agenda to come up. Is there anything else, Kelly? Kelly's taking photos. I was taking a picture. Any questions from anybody in the group?
You will get all of this information typed and organized in a way that you'll be able to make sense of it.
And Jeff probably won't be typing that, but I'm just teasing. Are there any final comments that anyone would like to make?
Just a question. What do you name tags? Do you want us to leave them here?
Name tags, let's put on the table over there, please, as you head it out. Thank you for asking. Any other questions or comments?
You asked for our feedback, input, and all of that. You want that done in the email chain, or you want? How would you prefer that? Or you rather us bring it back to the next meeting, or?
We're going to put together a survey. So everybody has a chance to weigh in and be open and honest with what you're thinking and suggestions. Positive would be appreciated, but if not, that's okay too. We're open to whatever you have to say to us. Is there anything else? Have we set the date for next meeting? September is what we kind of. All right, so we're thinking about 2 back-to-back, so we're thinking about 1 in September, maybe the 3rd week of September, so we get through the first part of the school year. I know everybody's got open houses and kid activities and all those kind of things, so 3rd week of September. What is that Wednesday? Do we know? 20th. Thank you. What's the 20th look like for the majority of us? Do we think we can make that work?
Maybe just send out.
Yeah, I'm at school that night, yeah. Business.
You are too.
I'll be out.
Can we maybe?
All right, we will send 3 or 4 alternatives, so you can please reply back to us. That would be easy.
Yeah, why don't we just put a date on the survey or a couple of days on the survey?
That's okay. Nothing else?
I'll just say in general, I don't know if everything I appreciate the effort to start and put this together, get everybody together. It's a huge feat. I appreciate the effort.
Thank you, Ben. Gentlemen?
Since we're basically on something, I strongly one word for everybody about what your experience was today. It could be I love, it could be love, it could be hate, it could be anything new, but I want one word, you gotta be fast and don't hurt me either. I'm gonna start with you. Direction. Boom, Ben. Start.
Good.
Excited.
Tired.
Direction.
Overwhelming.
Friendly. Positive.
Overwhelming.
Optimistic. Thoughtful.
I would say hopeful.
Great. Connected.
A lot.
Good.
Confident.
Digestion. Digestion.
Thankful.
Let's take a time to
Appreciative.
Optimistic.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.